Hello, my name's Simon Freese. I'm a watchmaker and I'm doing a video today for Finest Hour. They have provided me with an Omega 6B for restoration. It's in very original condition and really just needs a sympathetic touch to return it to full working order. So in this video, I'm going to go over to my bench and we're going to take the watch apart and have a look. And I'm going to talk you through the process that we're going to use in order to get this back into optimal condition. Okay, so we're at the bench now and I can tell you a little bit more about this watch. So this is an Omega 6B 159 made around 1943, and these beautiful wristwatches were issued to RAF navigators and pilots during the Second World War. RAF watches from this period were supplied by a number of prestigious watch manufacturers including Longines, Jaeger-LeCoultre and Omega. The majority of these watches followed a standard specification which included a white dial with black Arabic numerals, centre seconds and blued steel non-luminous hands. These watches are commonly referred to by their RAF stores reference number 6B159, and this RAF stores reference refers to aircraft navigation equipment. The particular example here, produced around 1943, right at the heart of World War II, is a really good example. As you can see, it's very original. It hasn't had much in the way of work done to it, and it's effectively in barn fine condition. So I think Finest Hour have done really well to find this particular watch in this particular condition. It's certainly a good opportunity to acquire a superb piece of British World War II aviation history, as these are certainly significant watches within that area of collection. So this watch has been fitted with an aftermarket expandable bracelet, and this is quite a common sight for watches that lived through the 1960s and 1970s when these bracelets were fashionable. The other advantage, of course, for these bracelets is they could be twisted around the bars between the fixed lugs here, and they're quite easy to fit. So we're going to take this bracelet off now and then we'll start to have a look at the watch head itself. Now we've got the expandable bracelet off. Just before I take the case apart, I'll just mention to you that the mid case of this watch is the more commonly found alloy variant, and they're often found to be in damaged and poor condition, but happily this mid case in particular is in excellent condition. You'll also notice on the dial there's a really nice speckled patina as well, which gives the watch some character. And inside we have the Omega 30T2 movement. I'm going to take the case apart now and we can have a closer look at the movements. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, so I've taken the case back off now and you can see the amount of dirt and debris that is sitting around the edge of the movement here, and the watch is in a very dirty condition, which is in many ways for me a good sign because it means that it's been relatively untouched. Normally when you find a watch in this condition, it means that it really just needs synthetic cleaning and that it hasn't had anyone to, fiddling around with and so on, or trying to improve it or anything like that. So I'm really quite pleased to see this. Although admittedly there is going to be some extra cleaning work around the edge of the movement here to remove some of the dirt that is stuck onto this barrel bridge here. So what you can see here is the Omega 30T2 movement. So this is the second version of this movement that they made. First version didn't have a central seconds. So the central seconds hand is powered from this part here, and this cop for the centre seconds pinion is driven by this upper third wheel here, which is running off of the train, and that's how the seconds work on this. This movement is legendary amongst watchmakers. It's regarded as one of the finest of the mechanical movements that were made by Omega during this period. And it's interesting to note it was first made in 1939 and had a really good production run all the way through to 1966. Towards the end of the 60s, watch design changed and watches generally became slimmer from a fashion point of view. And so movements like this, which were quite chunky, were not suited to the new design of case. So movement design changed, but back in the end of the 30s, this movement quickly became established as one of the best movements and very highly regarded by watchmakers for its simplicity of construction as well. I've now removed the bezel and the crystal from the top of the watch. This is a three-piece clip-together case, and the good thing about doing this is that we're able to now see the dial in more detail. And what you'll see is some really nice-looking aging to this dial. There are some attractive spots on the dial, and the patina's just right. There's not too much to detract from the appearance of the dial, but it is also enough to give the watch a lovely character. So this really is a nice example of this particular model. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to get the movement out and take the dial and hands off, and we'll start to take the movement apart and get it ready for the cleaning process. I've just been taking the movement apart, and I've just stopped halfway just to show you some of the parts, and also to emphasise the best thing about this movement, which really is its simplicity. What you'll see here is a movement that where the barrel bridge, and the ratchet wheel, and all these components associated with winding the watch up have been removed, but we've still got the train in place. And so here's our barrel bridge. This is the cock for the seconds pinion. We have the upper fourth wheel here and the barrel as well. You'll be able to see these parts are quite dirty, so before I actually put the whole movement into the watch cleaning machine, I'll need to hand clean all of the dirt off these components, and the same for the movements. But it's also really interesting to see the way in which that Omega designed this movement in a very functional way. It was a departure from the traditional design of movements that you saw on pocket watches. They sort of rethought it and tried to make everything as simple as possible. And I think watchmakers have been thanking them for this ever since. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up now. We'll get it into the cleaning machine before I start to do the reassembly and the service work on the movement. Okay, so I've now serviced the movement and we've got it back into the case. And the only difference you're really going to see is a transformation in terms of cleanliness. You'll notice that the case now, I've removed all of the dirt and the debris around this edge, which would obviously fall into the movement if I were to leave it. So clean this all off by hand and cleaned around the lugs as well. The idea is not to sort of transform the watch in too much, but more just a case of just making sure that there is no dirt on there that's going to sort of fall in and cause a problem. But you also notice with the movement how clean it looks now since it's had the service. For a movement that is now 80 years old, it's quite incredible to see the condition of this, because all of the plating on the bridges all looks really good. You can see that the components are all in good condition. There's no corrosion or rust or anything like that. And that's especially good when you think that this movement is within a dust-proof case with no moisture protection whatsoever. So it would suggest that the movement, well, the watch in total, has been just put into a drawer for a long period of time. It's certainly running very well now. You'll see the balance wheel down here is swinging away quite healthily, and I've checked the rate on my tiring machine and made some adjustments. So we've now been able to regulate the movement to quite closely to within about 10 seconds a day, which for an 80-year-old movement is incredible. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the favourite movements for watchmakers, and this is another good reason why it would be, because of the the accuracy considering the age. It's really incredible that something of this age can still run with that much accuracy. So I'm going to turn the watch over now, and we'll show you the dial now that I've given the crystal light polish, and it does look a lot better now. So let's get that turned over. So we'll turn the watch around now, and we can see how much clearer the dial hands look now that the crystal has been polished. I've given the crystal what I'd regard as a light polish. So I'm not looking to completely remove all history of the watch ever having a original crystal in there. It is nice to have some degree of character to the watch. So I've just lightly polished the crystal, and this has revealed all the nice patina on the dial as well. And I think overall, with a very sympathetic clean, a light polish of the crystal, it really has brought the watch back to life again. It's running really well. As you can see, the hands are moving nicely, and got a nice smooth action to the seconds hand, which is always encouraging to see. I think this is probably the optimum approach to repairing a watch of this age and provenance, because we are trying to obviously retain the character and the vintage appeal and the charm of the watch that makes it interesting and collectible in the first place. So I'm really happy with the way this repair has gone. It's always a favourite of mine to repair a 30T2 calibre Omega watch, and this one has been no exception. It hasn't given me any difficulties at all. I've just gone straight through with the service procedure and a light clean, and I couldn't be happier personally as a watchmaker. If I just wish all of the repairs I do went this smoothly. But once again, it's a testament to the quality of these watches, and the person who owns this watch ultimately is going to be in possession of a really good example of this particular model. And the 6B159, it's a really iconic watch in today's market, and certainly a very nice one to have in any collection.